Another voice for the LA Kings is joining us as a special guest on the show as we talk about the Kings season so far. We'll discuss Pheonix Copley, Jonathan Quick, if the Kings will make a deal at the deadline, and we might have one baseball question. It's Patrick O'Neill on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying this content. My name is Eddie Garcia. I am your host of Locked On LA Kings. I worked in sports media for almost 30 years, 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. I'm also co-host of the Puck Podcast, as a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 16 years. And of course, a passionate LA Kings fan for the past 30 years. We are excited to welcome in an old colleague of mine from many years ago at the Fox Sports Radio Network. He has gone on to be a big TV star while I'm still at the Fox Sports Radio Network. You know him for his pregame, in between periods, and postgame work covering the LA Kings for Bally Sports West. We'll talk about his work with the Angels as well. It is the great Patrick O'Neill. Patrick, how you doing, buddy?
Eddie Garcia, broadcasting legend. We go way, way back, man. I'm happy to see you. Thanks for having me.
You'll find this interesting, I think, but we're finally moving into new studios at the Fox Sports Radio Network.
Yeah.
Because right now we're still in the same studios where you worked many, many years ago. Apparently within the month that's going to happen. So it only took 20 years, Patrick, for us to.
Well, I was in the studio even before that one. That was up. I was at the 5th floor, 9th floor, or something, and then I moved down to where you are working now. But I thought it's state of the art. But I guess
20 years ago it was. Yeah, 20 years ago it was. Not so much now, but finally getting that upgrade.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. So Patrick, I mean, you were born in Santa Monica. You're an LA guy. From what I remember, I've heard you say that you went to Kings games with your dad at the Forum back in the day. So, I mean, what is it like to cover a team that you grew up following now and being part of their broadcasts?
Yeah, my dad never really got me there. I had to get myself to the Forum back in the day in the 80s. It was basically pretty much, we used to watch them on TV a lot in the 70s. I believe KTLA or maybe Channel 9 or Channel 5. And the Kings were only on like 15 to 20 times a year, but loved the Triple Crown line and Rogie Vachon. But I never, and Marcel, of course, I never got to the Forum. I don't believe, earliest recollection is like mid 80s, prior to Gretzky. But then when Gretzky arrived, my ex-brother-in-law was good friends with Vitas Gerulaitis, who was going out with Janet Jones prior to her relationship with Wayne Gretzky. So I somehow was in the mix, and I got to meet Wayne and had his phone number, and I would call the guy and wake him up on his pregame nap to get tickets to the Forum. And, stand by, check this out. I'll show you this stick I have.
Props.
Yeah. So, to Patrick, good luck in your career. Nice to meet you, Wayne Gretzky, 1990.
Nice.
And I've had this stick the whole time. Wherever I've moved, maybe 30 times since then, but it's always stays with me.
Well, it's very cool that you get to cover and work around a team that you really enjoyed growing up. So doing good stuff for Bally Sports West now. Working alongside Jared Stoll for the most part. I know Derek Armstrong chips in every now and then, but what's it like working with the former Stanley Cup winner there? And has he kind of shared anything about the game with your conversations while you're watching the games that have kind of enlightened you?
Absolutely. It's a game I did not play growing up, just was a huge fan. So I still feel like I'm learning, so much each and every game. And I get to watch, especially on the road games when we're in the studio together. We just sit there and watch the game. And I just, sometimes we're just quiet and, I don't want to bug him because he sees things, before I do. And he's able to see, what the defensive player did or should have done or did well, and I'm kind of following the puck or the player with the puck, and he's kind of looking at different things that I haven't seen. Sometimes I'm on it with him, and I'm like, "Ooh, wow, I saw what Jared saw." But most of the time, he's just light years ahead of me, obviously. So yeah, I learned a lot from him. He's a sweet person. He's a good friend now, which we become considering he has to stick with me so much, and you figure he'd get bored of me or or grow annoyed. But we're pals, and I think that makes it fun to work with him.
Well, it's been a very interesting season so far to talk about. The team is exciting. I mean, they're certainly scoring more goals. The power play is improved. They kind of surprised some maybe last season by making the playoffs and then taking the Oilers to 7. So going into this season, obviously there were more expectations. Whether they've lived up to those or not, I think maybe is debatable, but they've been in a playoff position for most of the season. They're scoring a lot of goals. We'll talk about what's going on in net a little bit, but what do you think about the season, how it's gone so far?
Yeah, I think that Doughty and Kopitar have been outstanding, right? So those are your pillars and the leadership they provide in the room. I think Philip Deneau is a big part of the leadership group, of course. But in his second year, I think he's really kind of taken charge in the room. And players love him, and he is a really likable guy, man. He plays hard each and every game. He's such a smart hockey player. Obviously the trade for and the signing of, to the extension of Kevin Fiala is huge. He is a type of player that the Kings haven't had, like that type of exciting player, that dynamic of a player. Maybe Gaborik, right? He just does so much. He is an incredible player. And then you're getting guys taking, and Kempe is starting to, do what, he can do, what we saw from him last year. Then it's other guys taking a leap, right? Like Dursey on the back end. Sean Dursey has been really good playing on his offside. And then guys got to take the next jump, like Kaliev. I know he's out now. And then Trevor Moore is playing well, and he's out as well. You get those guys back. And then, of course, with Quentin Byfield suddenly up on that top line, that adds a different element to it. And then with Copley, right, that suddenly solidified the goaltending. That's a big surprise, that whole situation. But Copley's been outstanding. There is definitely a lot to like about this team. I hope they stay healthy and get some of those bodies back, and Velarde also. So those younger guys have taken that next step. This is the year they need to advance in the playoffs. It's not just getting in anymore. It's they have to not only get in, they have to advance past the first round and then match up with some of the really good teams.
I don't know how much you knew about Kevin Fiala before he came over. Certainly gets a big deal, a lot of expectations. Do you think he's lived up to the hype, maybe exceeded it? What just your thoughts on him?
Yeah, they absolutely exceeded. I mean, he's absolutely completely in his prime, right? He's mid-20s, 26, 27, whatever. I mean, this is a great signing for the Kings. And he's somebody that's in the room, and you go in the locker room, he's there before, he's there after, he's easy to talk to. He's a big dude. I don't really travel that much at all anymore with the team. I used to, but we have this nice studio that is 1.5 miles from where I live, so I don't mind that. Yeah. But I covered the Vegas game on the road just to try to be a reporter again. And I was in the elevator with him. He's thick. I mean, like Kevin Fiala is like, his upper body is like, he was wearing a sweatshirt. I'm like, man, the guy's jacked. So it's a lot stronger than looking than I anticipated, and just great hands. Power play. I mean, PK, we got to get the PK. It's going to be hard for it to like get to the middle of the league, like 15th. It's like whatever, 28th now. That has to be better. But the power play has been exciting. Haven't seen a unit like that, right? Eddie, in years, a decade at least.
Yeah, no doubt. And that was, something that was certainly emphasized going forward. But yeah, I think Kevin Fiala has been better than advertised, and that skill that he has. You mentioned Marian Gaborik. That was a pretty good pull there. But yeah, I think he's been a little bit better than even I thought. The way he passes the puck, the way he holds onto the puck and kind of freezes the defense, that kind of thing, to give himself more room or for a teammate to get open. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. And even when the Kings were winning the Stanley Cup, that was a more defensive oriented team, kind of a grinded out team. In LA, it's always about entertainment. And I think the Kings are really putting an entertaining product on the ice right now. I mean, there's so many different fun offensive players to watch, that this is an exciting brand of hockey as well. You want to win ultimately. It doesn't matter what style you play, but it's a fun style that they're playing, I think.
Yeah, I mean the New Jersey game was tough, right? The second period was tough. They didn't bury their chances, and the Devils are a good road team, obviously. But yeah, Fiala 5-on-5, right? I mean, if you look at his assists 5-on-5, he's one of the top forwards in the NHL. So you're right, like his passing, the power play, the pass from Kempe to Fiala, he makes people around him better, and you're starting to see that. And you better be ready to go when he's on the ice because he makes plays.
We're going to have more with Patrick O'Neill. Going to ask him about the goaltending situation in just a second. But real quick, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from the NFL, playoffs going on, got college and pro basketball, even esports. You got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. It's the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to BetOnline.net today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. We've got more with Patrick O'Neill from Valley Sports West. Speaking of odds, the odds that Pheonix Copley would not only become the Kings' number one goalie, but have the success he's having, I'm sure were pretty long odds going into the season. And yet here he is, the number one goalie as it stands right now for the Kings. I mean, you're in the TV business, or you show sports, but sports stories are also an important part of things. This is a hell of a story, Pheonix Copley.
Yeah, limited the most, 27 starts coming in, and he had some run with Washington. A good depth signing by the Kings and the Ontario Reign. Third goalie, obviously with Cal Peterson, nobody expected the struggles there. But now I believe that the time has passed where you can't just, unless you're going to carry three goalies, you can't send Copley to Ontario to bring, Peterson up, even if they wanted to, not that they would, because he could, be claimed. I think it was a 30-day window. I believe that's passed. Sure, Quick has struggled. I think in the Jersey game, of the 4 goals he allowed, there was a late empty netter. I think one was bad, right? One that he should have saved. Does the team play differently in front of Pheonix Copley than it did in front of Quick or Peterson? They block more shots in front of Copley. I don't know. I certainly don't know that. I've asked Jarrett, do you guys play harder in front of a different goalie? Like you feel like or you're more secure, let's say, if there's like a number one, like a Brodeur or a Waugh, or, if Quick's on his game, then you play differently. He said no. He has never changed his game to accommodate a goalie. You just go out and play. Derek Armstrong, though, would tell me that absolutely, depending on the goalie. So I don't know, but it is a great story. And there's no panic, right, in Copley's game at all, Eddie. It's insane. Every once in a while, he's like almost too casual back there, flipping the puck up, kicking it off the side. But love his confidence. He's the number one guy right now, but can't help but really wish that Quick could have a great game and can get on a roll, because you hate to see it, right? As just somebody that loves the guy so much. So, man, I just hope that something could get better there with 32.
I was going to definitely ask you about that, but did you think we've seen enough from Copley so far this season that this is not a fluke, that this is sustainable, that he can do this for the rest of the season and beyond?
Yeah, but but if you look at 12-2, but if you look at the save percentage and the goals against, it's like 2.4 and a 9.15, somewhere in there. It's not like tops of the league, even though his record with the 12 wins is the most of any goalie right around there since he came up, right? I mean, that Boston game on the road since then. So that's why I say, yes, he is the guy. But it's not like Linus Ullmark, goals against save percentage. So the team as a whole just plays better when Pheonix is in net. That's just the way it is.
Well, you mentioned Jonathan Quick, and we've seen it in sports. Even Tom Brady had a playoff game that wasn't very good on Monday. As we talk about the greats, you play long enough, eventually, your skills erode. And, but with Jonathan Quick, final year of his contract, maybe his final year as a King, greatest goaltender in Kings history. I know that, and look, you and I are both Kings fans, so we can relate to what the fans are feeling, because we're feeling it too. You want this to end in a happy way. And it's not going great right now. And I'm with you. I'm really hoping that something can happen that Quickie can turn this thing around and get going. And if this is the last year of him with the LA Kings, that it ends on more of a positive note, because he's given so much to the organization. But that's a storyline certainly going forward. How is this going to end? And can he get his game back?
Yeah, it is. It's tough. I know he's got to be incredibly frustrated. Haven't spoken to him. He's one of the most competitive people that I've ever come across. And I think the 2012 performance was one of the great sports performances in Los Angeles sports history. Period. In playoff history, that was just absolutely incredible. What he did. Brown's getting his statue, and Quick's going to get his, and his banner is going to go up. But I mean, what happened from a season ago to this year for Quick, right? I mean, team had 99 points last year. He was the number one guy. He was the starter in the playoffs. Has it eroded that quickly, or is there something just slightly missing with his game? I have asked management, is he 100% healthy? And they've told me yes. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. I'm going to hold out hope that he's going to find his game.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we all are. And if this is the last year of Jonathan Quick, certainly, hopefully it ends a better way than it looks the way it's going at this point. The Kings appear to be a very solid team. I know that Seattle in the Pacific is doing some amazing things right now. Vegas is obviously still on top, but the Kings have been, like I said, in the top 3 position pretty much the whole year. So they appear to be a solid team. I don't think there's going to be any changes in net as far as what we have now, but there's always, room to improve. There's always deals to be made. The Kings have a ton of young assets that they could move to get another player to add to help them out. Jacob Chychrun is a name we've heard constantly. I know it was brought up again the other day. Pierre LeBrun wrote about it, one of the respected reporters up in Canada. You're hearing it, I'm sure. Any thoughts on what the Kings might want to add? And do you think they'd be willing to pay the price that Arizona wants to get a guy like Jacob Chychrun?
I don't think, let's say the price is 2 first-round picks and like a player off your current roster. I just think that's too much. I think that Arizona is in no rush, right? He still has another year after this year. Speaking of management, maybe they feel that, if anything, Chychrun would get moved closer to the next year's draft, or this year's the next draft. I don't see that one happening unless they lower their price. I do think that the Kings will most certainly make a move. I'm not sure what that would be for. Is it going to be for a goaltender, or is it going to be another left shot D, which they need, right? So I would expect good teams, when they want to win a Stanley Cup, make a move at the deadline or thereabouts. So I would expect the Kings would do something to improve. I just don't think I'd be surprised if they paid that hefty ransom that the Arizona Coyotes are asking for Jacob Chychrun.
We're going to have more with Patrick O'Neill in just a second. We got a big broadcast coming up for Bally Sports West and the LA Kings in the very near future. Going to ask him about that. But I do need to also remind you that today's episode of Locked on LA Kings brought to you by Athletic Greens. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help get your day started right. It's a special blend of ingredients that supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. AG1 contains less than 1 gram of sugar, costs you less than $3 a day. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water, and that's all you need. Athletic Greens also going to help you out by giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D, 5 free travel packs as well with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So more with Patrick O'Neill. And Patrick, we are less than a month away for a big night for the LA Kings coming up on February the 11th. Bally Sports West is going to have the coverage of the Dustin Brown jersey retirement night. I know that'll be a fun night for everybody. Have you guys talked about that this far in advance? Do you have any idea what the coverage might be like there on Bally Sports West, and looking forward to that broadcast?
Yeah, wall-to-wall coverage. And I've heard just from, internally that that is going to be one of the biggest, box office gates that they've ever had in Kings history that night alone. I believe I'm going to be hosting the statue ceremony. I'm sure we're going to cover that live. So yeah, we haven't Bally Sports. We haven't gotten together and talked about it, but I'm sure they're planning on it, and it's going to be a big night. I think the night before there's going to be a dinner, a team dinner, and I somehow got to, I don't know if I'm going to be kind of emceeing kind of a semi-roast or something the night before at a restaurant. So I'm a little nervous about that. I'm like, me, really? But okay, but yeah, it's going to be exciting to see, Tom McClellan said recently that they missed Dustin Brown, like they missed him in the room and on the ice. So it's kind of hard to believe, right, that it's over and suddenly this fast. Jersey, statue. They didn't waste any time. They took that C off his sweater awfully quick, but they're not wasted any time to put up the number in the rafters. Incredible.
Yeah, that's always been a very odd situation that I don't know that people have really done a deep dive on exactly what that happened. But thankfully, Copley and Brownie were such good friends that they were able to, not have that be any kind of a distraction with the team. And just, I'm sure that wasn't a great moment for Dustin, but it's going to be a great moment coming up for him on February the 11th with his jersey deservedly retired there up in the rafters at crypto.com. Before I let you go, Patrick, for those that don't know, you also do pre and post game show duties for the Angels in Major League Baseball and got to do some play-by-play for the first time this past season. And I understand, I believe you're going to get to do a little bit of that again this coming season. But let me take you back to May the 10th, 2022, Angels against the Tampa Bay Rays, and Reed Detmers is on the mound for the Halos. And you got to call a no-hitter. That is amazing. In your first year of doing play-by-play to get to do something like that. What was that like? Was there a moment? Mark Gubiza used to work at Fox Sports Radio. I know Gooby a little bit as well. He's your partner up in the booth. Was there a moment where you guys said something to each other like this could happen, or are you superstitious in that? How did that night go for you?
Yeah, it just was very exciting, and you just can't believe it's happened. I've covered a lot of baseball, but I'd never seen a no-hitter in person. So to be in the booth and call it, and I was excited for it. I didn't feel nervous about it. I was more nervous that it wouldn't happen. And you're always in the back of your mind, people are, fans seemingly, especially with social media, get very, very upset, about broadcasters and what they say, and if they somehow jinx it or whatever, and never quite understand all that. But I also didn't want to, in my first year doing it, put my foot, in my mouth and then just have fans hate me, so I never really said, he's got a no-hitter going, but our production team, they put up, the banners or the lower thirds or the graphics that he's got a no-hitter going. They had that going up in the 6th inning. So I figured the audience could see that. And it was just exciting. I was pumped. Almost got a couple more, actually. Ohtani was 4 outs from a perfect game. I was calling that one, and I really thought that one was going to happen. And there was a shift and a ground ball, squirted past Soto, but I thought that was going to happen. I'm like, man, I'm going to get 2 of these. And Suarez went 6 perfect, like his next start. So had a lot of exciting things. I called about 120 games. I wasn't supposed to. I did 9 games the season before that, and because of some circumstances, I did the bulk of the games, and that's not going to be the case this year. And I'm cool with that. I can always look back in my career and say, man, I called the majority of a season play-by-play for the Major League Baseball team. And, obviously there were some bumps in the road and some learning curve for me and some growing pains, but I think all in all, I think I did a pretty good job, and it was exciting. And it was a tough year, right? A lot of losing, 14-game losing streak, and fired the manager. And so trying to keep it positive through all of that. But I'm excited for Wayne Randazzo. He's going to be outstanding this coming year. He's going to do the bulk. Matty V, Matt Vasgersian, still going to call games. And then if there's any scraps left on the table, I'll jump on them and gratefully and proudly, sit in that chair next to Gooby. And there's nothing like it, just to sit in that chair and look out on the field, and then you're calling a baseball game. It was the biggest thrill of my life for sure.
Well, that's awesome. And, we're looking forward to, as I mentioned, you and Bally Sports West covering the Dustin Brown jersey retirement, of course, the rest of the season. And hopefully it's a successful season. We see the Kings in the playoffs and having a deep run. Patrick, I'm happy for you, man. Love all your success that you're doing. Look forward to watching you and Jared Stoll there on the pregame show during the game and after the game as well. Continued good work with Valley Sports West, and thanks for doing this.
Oh, Eddie, it's been my pleasure. Yeah, we go back 20 years, so it's always great to see you around the rink, and say hi to Ben and the rest of the crew over there at Fox Sports Radio, the old stomping grounds, and appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Go Kings.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. And we'll see you at crypto.com arena, I'm sure, in the near future.
All right.
Thanks. Take care.
You too.
All right. That was Patrick O'Neill. As you well know, you can catch him and Jared Stoll before, during, and after the LA Kings games on Valley Sports West, as we mentioned. He'll obviously be there on Thursday for the call against the Dallas Stars. And if you want to follow him on Twitter, he is at Patrick_O'Neill, O'Neal as well. And we thank Patrick for his time. Hey, if you want to send us any feedback on the show about anything we talk about, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. We are on Twitter at Locked On LA Kings, Instagram, Locked On LA Kings. Hey, thank you for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen. For your next listen, I invite you to check out Locked On NHL Prospects. It's a daily podcast covering the next generation of hockey superstars leading up to the NHL draft, plus NHL draft rankings and top prospect comparisons for every team. That is Locked On NHL Prospects, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching to Locked On LA Kings. And as always, go Kings go.